A report. It's almost like a talk show host yesterday suggested this. Broncos open to trading Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. What did we talk about yesterday? So I think it's smart. There are certain NFL positions that you just avoid trading. It's really hard to find great players. Quarterback, obviously. Left tackle, dominating defensive tackle. They call it in the NFL the planet theory, termed by George Young, the great New York Giants former GM. The planet theory is the planet only creates so many 6 foot, 6.5, 320-pound men with agile feet. There's just a limitation on gigantic men with length, power, and agility. You probably don't want to move off Reggie White or Aaron Donald in his prime or Fletcher Cox or, Chris Jones, beware. Wide receiver, those interesting. And it's interesting for a lot of reasons. They're a position I would move into sometimes, but off of frequently. The reason being is Calvin Johnson was 6'5", 235 and great, and Tyreek Hill is 5'10", 190 and great. All shapes, all sizes. Some are small, some are lean and skinny, some are thick, Anquan Bolden, some aren't even fast. Puka Nacua now is tearing up the NFL. Why? Because he's very clever and finds space in zones. And since the NFL now overwhelmingly plays zone defense, speed alone isn't as valuable as it used to be, although Tyreek Hill is amazing. He's the fastest guy in the league. But it's more valuable to have multiple guys on a staff that are smart and can figure out crevices in a zone because everybody plays it. And so I think if you are Denver, Patrick Surtain, people are saying, the corner, what could you get for him? Remember, there is a shortage of corners in the NFL. Everybody wants a great one, and there's about 4. And Patrick Surtain is one of them, and Albert Breer talked about this yesterday on our show.
I don't even know what you would offer for someone like Surtain, but the Broncos need picks, so they're going to listen on everybody. I don't think they move Surtain. I think Surtain's a building block for them going forward. I certainly think that guys like, Jeudy and Sutton and Garrett Bowles and Justin Simmons and Josie Jewell would be in play. You'd have to give them a lot to get Surtain.
Yeah, it's just I'm sure I've talked to people in the league, and they're like, every team, it's not that hard to have 2 great receivers and 2 others that are capable. Try to find a second great corner. Like the Jets have them, and that's about it. Like the Broncos have Surtain, the other one's not working. It is hard. And I think a lot of it is, it's a glamour position. And young kids are always on the forefront of cultural changes. Could be shoes, it could be football. The money now, quarterback, wide receiver, and great edge rusher. That's who's getting paid. California high school football, you can't find great running backs. 60 great receivers a year. Hour 2 next, Greg Cosell. Here we go. Hour 2, Thursday, Greg Cosell. 4 or 5 minutes. You love football, bet football, fantasy football, just going to get smarter. Greg Cosell, 5 minutes. That's The Herd. Live in L.A., wherever you may be and however you may be listening or watching. A lot of choices. Thanks for making us part of your day. Got to tell you, the story's now percolating. I'm reading one from Jeff Howe of The Athletic on Belichick. People of Tom Landry got fired. Andy Reid got fired. Belichick's not untouchable.
We haven't talked about the game we like best this week in the NFL. Usually there's one that pops up, Colin.
Like the Patriot game?
I don't know. Is it time? 0 points, 3 points a week before that?
Yeah. So The Athletic, Jeff Howe, quote, there's a school of thought that suggests Bill Belichick has earned the right to go out on his own accord. The architect of the greatest dynasty in NFL history can coach as long as he wants. Robert Kraft doesn't subscribe to it. By the way, you're foolish in any industry unless you own the business to think that way. Everybody's replaceable. And Belichick, by the way, his brand, Belichick now would cut Belichick. That's his brand. Moving off players a year early. Belichick wouldn't respect a coach who didn't cut Belichick, the coach. In a pivoting to offense NFL, he looks like a dinosaur. He cut Asante Samuel on Christmas. Stop with the heartstring stuff. You can move off Bill Belichick. Landry and Andy Reid fired. The longer he coaches, there is an Escapable, unescapable, whatever it is. Truth. He doesn't win big without Brady. Look at the graphic we put on television. He is a below 500 coach without Tommy, and he's great in winning rings with him. This is not a Joe Gibbs story. 3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks. The mastermind of all of them. He can't pivot off Tom, which makes us realize Tom was much better than we thought. But I'm not giving you a legacy pass when your brand always was cut a guy early, not late. Kraft isn't demanding they be great and win Super Bowls. How about just demanding they're not boring and dull and bad? And offensively, and this is something, if you paid attention, that's been bad for 7 or 8 years. It's why Tommy left. Tommy wouldn't have left if he had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin in tow. No way. He was screaming at his receivers, get open. 6, 7, 8, 9 drafts in a row. Outside of Gronk, couldn't hit on offensive skill people. Even Julian Edelman, always respectful, sees the issue.
I think he needs a little help on the offensive side. I mean, you look at the defensive picks, they all look pretty good. I mean, they always come out and they perform. And I hate talking about coach like this, but we have whiffed on a lot of offensive skill position players, starting from, I don't want to call guys out, but there are 3, 4 receivers when I was playing that we got in top rounds. You're looking and I was like, what's going on here? That's not a first rounder. I don't know what's going on. So I think he would be the first to tell you that he's had some screw ups. He's a very accountable guy, and I do think that that they probably do need a little more help on the offensive side of scouting.
Mike Vrabel's name has been suggested. He'd probably be a front runner, very respected in Foxborough. But I suggested this at the beginning of last year. Get out of here with this legacy stuff. Like, Belichick's entire brand was cut early, not late. He cut Asante Samuel on Christmas. Asante said on the phone before Belichick hung up, "Merry Christmas, Bill. You can fire Bill in February. It's not the end of the world." Landry, Andy Reid, it happens. Greg Cosell, 44 years, NFL film. Not saying it will, but it wouldn't be outrageous. So, young people in any industry improve. They even say, I learned this years ago with my kids, young kids learn languages better than older people. I don't know exactly the brain chemistry, but sometimes we have to say, listen, I see something. It's not working, but I see something. Whereas Mac Jones, I don't see anything. I do look at Justin Fields and go, there's a lot of wow there. Can he just sustain it week after week? So he's played better. Greg, what does the tape say on Justin?
Very interesting, because the last 2 weeks he's clearly played better. Against Denver, obviously not a very good defense, but the Bears did a lot of play-action movement with Fields. Play-action boot got him out of the pocket. They ran half-field reads. He was very, very effective. This past game, which was last Thursday night against the Commanders, it was more playing in the pocket, and he did some really good things, reading it out. The touchdown that we just saw to Moore was a really good example of that, the one for about 20 yards into the left void, the left corner void. So he played better from the pocket. You're seeing incremental improvement. It'll be very interesting this week, Colin. You never know what you're going to get from a Brian Flores defense. It could be high pressure. It could be high-frequency blitz. He could back off and play zone. You just don't know. So this is going to be a really intriguing challenge for Justin Fields, but there's been incremental improvement in his game. And as you've discussed many times, and we've discussed, he's a talented kid.
Oh, yeah.
He can throw the ball really well. He's 6'3", 230. He's got great movement. You just have to put him in a situation where he can see it well and see it better, and then he can play with a little more confidence.
I know most people did not get up early on the West Coast and watch the Bills-Jags. I did. And I've always been a Trevor Lawrence guy. I love the kid. I thought he made a couple of throws. You could hear the whip from here in London.
Yeah.
I think he's playing last couple of weeks. I think he's playing really well. I think he had, like Lamar Jackson, his receivers dropping footballs. What's the tape say on Trevor Lawrence?